So sometimes when I pray, I feel like God's right next to me, and that has nothing to do with me, because God says in His Word that He's right next to me. He's everywhere. God is omnipresent. It's part of His nature. But there are other times when I pray and it feels like God is nowhere close to me. And it feels like, some people say that they pray and things don't even get past the ceiling. And I was thinking about that. What's the difference? If God is always present, then why don't I always feel it? And I don't know if this is the answer, but for me it's an answer. And it's an answer that I've actually begun to use as a practice, even with my own children and even students in the youth ministry. As I start to realize, man, if I want to sense God's presence in prayer, if I want to feel like He's talking to me and He's listening to me, if I want to pray about things outside of myself, I have to deal with what's inside of me first. And so I started doing this. Maybe you can do it as well. I started putting my hand on my shoulder sometimes when I'm trying to pray and I just feel like I can't connect with God. Maybe there's stress on my shoulders or there's pressure that I need to deal with first. And so I can just put my hand on my shoulder to remind me that there's stuff there and to be aware of it and pray, God, would you help me with the things that are stressing me out? You promise peace that surpasses all understanding, to guard my heart and mind in Jesus if I'm anxious. And I'm anxious right now. And so sometimes I just talk to God and tell Him my anxieties and my pressures and my stresses until I have nothing more to say about it. And then sometimes I'll move on to the next one. I close my hands like this, and sometimes I even put my hands behind my back, because these things in my hands represent the stuff that I'm trying to hide. They're the things I hope nobody finds out about me, or things that would embarrass me, or things I'm ashamed of, or things that just make me feel weird. If people knew how goofy I was, maybe they would judge me. And whatever it is, I pray about that stuff and say, God, ultimately you know everything, so there's nothing I can hide from you. But God, would you help me to understand your perspective? Would you deal with me if there's something that I'm doing that's offending you? Would you search my heart and know my ways, like David said, and show me what's offensive and let me deal with that with you? Would you forgive me for the things I've done that aren't good, are sin? And then I just deal with that stuff. And then another one I use is I open my hands like this, and this represents all the stuff I need. And sometimes the things I need become obsessions for me, sometimes even just things I want. And I don't know what you need. Maybe it's more money and more time, or less things to do, or more love or affirmation, whatever that might be. We can spend time praying to a God who says He already knows what we need, but He wants to hear from us anyways. And we can pray, God, would you continue to allow me to trust you, to supply and provide the things I need? And I find when I'll pray about the things that stress me out, the things I'm ashamed of or trying to hide, the things I need, it actually allows me to deal with those things with God in a way that I can get outside of myself and my inner perspective or inward focus perspective, and I can actually pray about you. And I can pray about our schools and our students and our families and my family and our community, and I can connect with God in a way that I wasn't able to when all I was focused on was me. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's how we are as people. But if we're going to pray and be effective in prayer and sense God's presence in prayer, I have a hunch that we've got to get past ourselves. And so here's a tip or a trick on how to maybe do that. You can pass this along to someone else or use it in your prayer times like I do. And I hope it's been helpful. So as you pray, make sure you remember God cares about what's going on in you. And He wants you to pray about that stuff, and He trusts you with it.